Thursday afternoon chat. Your favorite artists with Jayar.
Ladies and gentlemen, will you please welcome a first timer on the Jayar show? And I'm not even going to say your name because we're going to start with question. We're going to start with question number 1, which is, will you please tell I know you're curious to see how bad I've been butchering it on the radio the past month, but will you please tell everybody the proper pronunciation of your name?
Yeah, proper pronunciation is Seph Schlueter. Looks like Schlueter, and many people think it's Schlueter. I've heard it butchered really badly, like Schlueter, or just all sorts of crazy things. But it is Schlueter. Rhymes with eater, leader, meter, feeder, all those fun things.
Pumpkin eater.
Pumpkin eater. Seph Schlueter, pumpkin eater. I really wanted. I have 2 younger brothers, and when my mom was pregnant with the youngest, I begged her to name him Peter because he'd be Peter Schlueter, and didn't end up happening, obviously. But and I'm glad now. But I do think it would have been fun, Peter Schlueter.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's not just the last name that you have to explain to people. Even the first name is. Where did Seph come from?
So it's actually short for Joseph. It's the last part of Joseph without the Joe. Yeah, people don't get that, which makes sense. But I didn't like Joe or Joey growing up. I was always Joseph in a nickname, and I felt I read this book once where there was a character named Joseph, and he went by Seph, and I'm like, this is the coolest thing ever. So I try to get people to call me Seph, but all my family was like, yeah, right, you're not going to be Seph. And then here we are, however many years later, and I'm Seph.
If you guys won't call me Seph, I will go become a recording artist, and the world will start calling me it.
I will make everyone Seph, and you will be the minority.
Do you have? Because anytime somebody has a name, or they have to, my name's Jayar, but it's not Jayar, it's Jayar. So I always have to get out ahead of that. So you've got.
Is that's your real name?
Hey, I'm interviewing you.
Okay.
That's me done.
No questions. I get it.
How deep do you really want to know? Because we can. No, it's not my birth name, but I was actually working.
But it is your name.
It is my name. I was working at a top 40 station in Seattle where I couldn't use my first name because another guy on the air had my first name, and I couldn't use my last name because a different guy on the air had my last name. And so I just put my initials together, JR, but then it was Seattle, who's somebody very popular in the early 2000s from Seattle, Ken Griffey Jr. So J and R made people think Ken Griffey Jr. So I'm like, I got to do something different here. And that's where that was my Seph Joseph moment right there.
There it is. You should ask everyone, what was your Seph Joseph moment? JR is a sweet name, though. It is a really, it's definitely I read the name JR and I'm like, this guy's automatically cool. You just automatically bring cool points for the JR, spelled like that.
Then you meet him and it's like,
and then you meet him and then he's like,
before we talk about the song, is there any sort of you already kind of did it with us, but is there any sort of, how do you avoid everything we just did? How do you avoid that? If you're checking in at a Holiday Inn, what is your simple rhyme or how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, great question. It was probably the hardest and longest part of the whole artist process. Right after I signed, was figuring out what to call me. Because it was do we go by Seph? Do we go back to Joseph? Sorts of stuff. So it's funny that's it's something I expect. I'm I chose this. I made this bed. I'm gonna lie in it. If I'm checking a hotel or if I'm at Chipotle and they're like, what's the name for the order or whatever it is, more often than not, actually, I will just say Joseph. I'll just be it's Joseph. But if I'm playing on a stage or something like that, I'll be it's Seph. I'm Seph. It's Joseph without the Joe, and immediately that's oh, that makes sense. And it's what's your last name? And I'm Schlueter rhymes with eater, rhymes with heater, meter, whatever is the rhyme of the day.
Okay.
That's typically the best way to do it. So, If they need to know the Seph part, I'll say Joseph without the Joe. If they don't need to, I'll just say Joseph sometimes.
Okay. You just gave me a new show idea. Cotton, let's write this down. Rhyme of the day.
Rhyme of the day. Boom.
Okay, so
Rhyme of the day. That's what songwriters have to do.
Okay, and you are giving us all permission to include the ch with a sh, not slee. It's shl. They all work in conjunction like rowing a boat.
Exactly. They somehow work together.
Okay, good. Let's talk about, in my opinion, this is one of my, I'll just say, top 3 favorite songs of 2024.
Oh.
Counting My Blessings. It's the reason you and I are on this chat right now. Is the song, I know it's been out for a while, but it hit radio later. Like we have somebody in our office that's like, guys, I've been listening to that song for 6 months, and I'm just now being rocked by it. Can you walk us up where Counting My Blessings came from, DNA, all of that?
Absolutely. Oh, first though, I was really expecting you to be like, one of my top favorite 3 songs at radio, and then just like say something random. Just be like set it up and then just like the letdown. But
yeah, I just wanted you to know my favorites.
Yeah, right. Just like you're not quite there yet. Eventually, maybe one day. Counting My Blessings. Yeah, man. So I was in a write with. I mean, it was funny because I wrote this song. I mean, I legit think it was like early 2020. Like early 2022, I think, is when I actually like wrote the song, or like mid 2022 or something like that. And I was sitting down with these 2 other writers, and one of them kind of came in with this song idea, and it's really kind of like what ended up being the chorus of Counting My Blessings. And he kind of like played it, and all 3 of us just really resonated with it, because it was this idea of like, when you look at your life, you just see so many blessings. Like if you, I think so, it's easy to like look at life and just be like life. But when you actually like, when you look at it with a magnifying glass, you can see God's fingerprints over like all of it. And I think for us too, it was this place of all 3 of us were like living in the answer to prayer prayed years ago. You know, we had like years ago, we had prayed that like the Lord would do this in our families, and this in our work, and this in our, you know, our opportunities, and like all sorts of things. And it's like we were realizing that we were actually living in that place. And so often it's like move on to the next thing and move on to the next big, you know, dream, goal, event, etc. But actually just like pause for a moment and thank the Lord for what he's given and what he's doing in that moment, because then you practice like beginning to see him. And then also, whether life is easy or it's hard, you know what it's like to just actually pause and thank him and like look at your life and see the blessings in it. So that's really kind of where the song came from, and in the heart behind writing it, and kind of what gave it its form and shape.
Awesome. Can you talk to me about the first time you heard Counting My Blessings on the radio? That's like a 101 radio question that takes no time to ask you, but I'm always curious, you know, that first time you're in the vehicle and you're like, that's me.
Yeah. Okay. So it was a little bit set up because I live in Columbus, and the station here, The River, reached out to me, and they're like, hey, we're like going to play your song a little early, be down to like film a reaction video of you hearing it for the first time. And I'm like, sure, let's do it. So yeah, I was like in the car, you know, I like always like to be early. So I'm like in the car 15 minutes early. I'm like, why do I need to be early for this? It's in my car. But I'm in my car, in my driveway, and just like, I remember I think it was like a rainy or at least like a dreary day. And it was just like this, I'm sitting there and I'm like listening to the radio. I'm listening to songs that have come before, and they're talking, and I'm like, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen? And then they start to like do the build up for it. And so like, yeah, I hear the background music playing, and the DJs are like talking over it. And I'm like, wait, this is crazy. It like began to like hit. I'm like, wait, this is actually so crazy. Like that's my song. Like that's my music. And all of a sudden like it like dives right into the song. And it was like this simultaneous feeling of like joy of like, this is like, I want to just like laugh, and because it's just so like wild to me that I'm hearing my song on the radio. And then like also I want to cry just because of how much of a blessing this is. And yeah, just because I mean I grew up, my family listening all the time, and so I know how many people have been impacted by it. And it's also just not something I ever like took for granted in any way either. Like it's like, if this happens, great. If not, like that's totally okay. And so just to like sing was just really like special, because it was just such an honor. It was like, wow, I can't believe that like my song that like the Lord gave me is being used in this way, which is really sweet.
That's awesome. As a newlywed, can I ask you what they did not put in the brochure that you've noticed so far?
Like like what she didn't put in her brochure, or
No,
what like they didn't put in the wedding brochure
the
or
marital
marriage brochure.
Yeah, the marriage brochure, if there was such a thing, what part did they skip that you've noticed so far?
Oh wow, that is a great question. Um, and I feel like sometimes people say this a little bit, but what you really, really realize is like all of your little quirks and all of your little things, um, just quickly really like come to the surface, and vice versa, like hers too, and like little things that I've been doing my whole life, and she's like, "Why are you doing that?" And I'm like, "It's a great question. I don't know." Like, or like vice versa, like just like things like that where I think you just end up just discovering so much more about yourself. In a way that, like, and I've had roommates like my whole life really, but it's just different, when you have someone you're like living with and they're like, you keep doing this thing, why do you do that? And I'm like, I couldn't tell you why. I legit couldn't tell you. So I think that's just like one of the fun things that I'm like, it's just great. And some of them are just like more like again, like little quirks, and others are like, all right, like I leave my shoes right in front of the door every time I take them off. I need to actually put them away, like things like that. So
Yeah. And then do you actually work on them, or do you argue like what is wrong with the shoe? These shoes were made for walking outside, and
yeah, these shoes. There's a specific spot for them right here. I know exactly where they are. No, I think it's something we both just try to like defer. The person like brings it up, and it's like it bothers them enough to bring it up. It's like
yeah,
I can do better.
you
To just love them in that way. Like
and you
every night we have like a nightly check-in that we do, and it's like we ask questions like, one, how were you loved today? Two, how can I love you better tomorrow? And like three, what's one thing you want to honor the other person for? And those are sometimes like just you don't really have any like big thing to be like, this is how you can love me better. It is like the little things that just like build up, and it's like gives that chance to be talked about, and like, oh, like that's sweet. Like you would be loved more if I like actually like did the dishes right away and didn't just leave them around, or whatever it might be, little
yeah.
things like that.
All right. Good. All right. Sounds like things are going to work out pretty well, I think.
I hope so.
First date of the tour with Matt Maher is actually one of our towns that can hear us right now. In April,
Let's go.
Warner Robins is going to be the first date of the tour. You're opening for Matt Maher, the legend. What is the greatest Matt Maher song ever written?
Oh man. ever written. I actually really, really love his one, Christ is Risen. It's like not really played a ton, but it's like an Easter song.
Yeah.
That he wrote, and I think it's phenomenal. I really love it. I'd also say in the newer era, the Lord's Prayer is just a really fun song. I really love that one.
That's great. Your new EP is out tomorrow, the 15th.
Yes.
Awesome.
So that's the next big thing that I'm really pumped for.
Awesome. Very cool. Hey, great first opportunity to chat with you, and I'm telling you, I wouldn't say it if it wasn't for true. Top three. I don't even know what the other two songs are. You just kind of leave space in case there are a couple others.
In case something slips in there.
Yeah, but Counting My Blessings just has everything. The message, the sound. It is just, in my mind, it's one of the biggest hits of the year, and so it's good getting to know you for the first time here.
Thanks so much, man. It's an honor to have the conversation, and just grateful for you and all the work that you do.